Hi, this is Kasian, and it's time for our weekly conference call at VectorspaceAI. You'll notice that we've moved the call to capture a few updates. We're considering moving the call to Thursdays. I think we're going to likely do that, so that's what we can look forward to. And again, that helps us capture updates from our main engineering call on Wednesdays. So starting with what's happening around the world, the Mars helicopter Ingenuity gets first taste of red planet air. And they've got video. That's the headline. Vaccine rollouts continue around the world with extreme variance between countries. And misinformation campaigning is in the news, with Facebook, Google, and Twitter testifying before U.S. lawmakers. This involves astroturfing and influence campaigns, which are classified as a cybersecurity weapons system. And as a side note, there's a direct connection to GameStop and Wall Street bets. Why is this relevant? Artificial intelligence and machine learning were the hottest topics discussed by U.S. lawmakers today. And, as we all know, datasets power AI and ML. The Suez shipping lane issue remains, as that container ship is still stuck in the canal, and that has an impact on global supply chains. On the industry side, NLP, NLU, and NLG continue to dominate AI and ML around the world. In the headlines and in data engineering pipelines. For example, here's a headline related to health: how NLP can uncover social determinants of heart disease. Moving to themes and events. So themes can involve negative global events. And a negative global event for a sector, or for traditional market stocks, a sector of crypto, that would be on the short side. And that would mean that we would create thematic baskets. Thematic baskets would be generated automatically, so you can short what's in the basket. And that will involve derivatives at some point. Next, we have Pfizer has a drug compound that's based on a protease inhibitor for infectious diseases, including COVID-19. So for this event, you'd want to use the term protease inhibitor to generate the thematic basket. And that would give you a list of pharmaceutical companies, publicly traded pharmaceutical companies, that would be affected and provide a return. On the corp side, we've got a lot of HR activity, and that's normal when you scale. And of course, a lot of corporate strategy happening right now. And that's very good. On the engineering, product, QA, and ops side, we have updated backtests available for the thematic basket generator. That, of course, takes a bit of engineering, or took a bit of engineering. What you're able to do is use 5 terms to generate 5 different thematic baskets, and then observe the returns over a period of a year. We've updated this tool to include updates from February 25th, 2020 to February 23rd, 2021. And the reason for that is you've got these, we have these as demos. And what we're providing to the public for free is a lot different than what we would provide in terms of a fully commercial grade solution to an institution, enterprise, or a paying retail customer or consumer. So that's important to note. When you use a tool like this that is a demo, you'll note that sometimes you'd like more data, but that you'll have to understand that will be available later. But we will guide you through it. And we're still under engineering, product QA, and ops. So we've been engaged on the engineering level in reducing risk. And this is a standard engineering operation. When you look at companies that try and solve for risk, technology companies, they look at their technical debt. They might look at scaling issues. We don't have any technical debt, by the way. You might look at QA and bug fixing. You might look at crawling data sources and your data acquisition methodology, making sure that that works properly. And next, on the engineering side, we've got each engineer working on their own data engineering pipeline, and then we'll have a global API, and that's going to be used by everyone. Some customers will require secure pipelines, secure data engineering pipelines. That's because they have proprietary data, internal data, and they need an on-premise data engineering pipeline, which produces the data sets that use data sources from themselves, including data sources we provide them. And there's been a lot of engineering recently around CoinMetro and CoinGecko. So we've been talking with CoinMetro and CoinGecko, and I can get into that because that's a nice segue into our customers, partners, and collaborators section. First, note that there are certain details that we're not allowed to talk to the public about or disclose, because we'll want to disclose these as we're legally allowed to do, as much as we can do for the public legally. So with CoinMetro, we're integrating thematic baskets for crypto. And this includes using APIs from various sources to gather data. That's what we do. And when that happens, we engage in building an individual data engineering pipeline for this kind of a solution, and then building out or mirroring these pipelines. And that's easy for us to do. Waiting on communication between technical leads, between companies, can sometimes take a bit of time, but that's okay because we know it's being done correctly. Now, a bit of time in this context is not much time at all. We've done this before, and that just means that we're just spiffing up a few code bases right now to make sure everything can scale and that we can engage in load testing so that we understand and CoinMetro understands how many customers will be using or needing thematic baskets at once. We're also navigating CRM issues, and this includes the fact that some of our customers have private wealth management divisions. They also have robotic investing divisions, and each division would benefit from thematic baskets. And then we've got other CRM issues, customer relationship management issues that are obvious, setting the right expectations along with building a stronger long-term relationship with customers by doing that. And then we've got the non-obvious. Some of our customers are a bit competitive, so they're trying to jump over one another. Next, we've got still under customers, partners, and collaborators. We're continuing to meet with funds of all kinds, and that means that we are oversubscribed. We have five funds that have jumped over one another, and we'll be meeting those next week along with the following week. All other customers, partners, and collaborators that we have mentioned in the past are on track because all want our services. But, again, as a reminder, it's important that any work that we do on the customer, partner, and collaborator side, that we're all in parity with one another and in parity with our own internal engineering groups. And on that note, we've expanded to 18 engineers. This includes 4 interns. Next, on the sales and marketing side, we're swamped. And that's defined by a customer waitlist, and onboarding happens again in parity with engineering. On the exchanges side, that's steady as she goes. Next, we've got IR, PR, and Marcom, and our pipeline remains full. So we are happy about that. We will have updates as soon as possible related to our large partners. Because each large partner will engage in its own PR process and strategy related to VectorspaceAI datasets. Next, we've got questions from the trader base. First question is, are the baskets being created inside this group the same type of baskets that customers will create themselves? The answer to that is no. The datas and the algos behind these are not commercial grade and don't represent what the capabilities of automated thematic baskets can truly do. Algorithms, data sources, updating and filtering, along with risk calculations, are all customized. So each customer has different requirements in that area, and we provide customers with the latest and the greatest, depending on the revenue negotiations. The next question, it seems to me like a very promising direction for biomimicry in decentralized intelligence, though I'm struggling with how economic incentives could play out here and what the right compositional primitives are for exchange. Any thoughts? Well, our first thought is that one of our goals here, is to get machines trading with one another, trading data sets with one another. And that means that you've got trillion-dollar markets at that point. When you look at what's happening with machines needing data sets and not needing human intervention in acquiring those data sets. We'll generate them, they can acquire them. It's also interesting to note that data sets are the main revenue generator for companies like Amazon, Netflix, Google, and as we know, those are all top companies. Getting machines to trade with one another, individual data sets, components of data sets of data sets, that is one of our main targets, and that's not going to happen likely in the next quarter or so. What we're looking at is a partnership and a revenue-based partnership that will enable us to get there. We'll have a little more on that in just a bit. Every exchange between a data set is also a transaction, and a transaction of VXV. Our next question is, when is Vectorspace planning on working with Azure, Space, and SpaceX? So we are building out a new data engineering pipeline for space biosciences and precision medicine. And when we have that new data engineering pipeline prototyped, then we'll be able to provide Azure Space with a demo. Their customers and partners include SpaceX and Blue Origin and Virgin Galactic. And these companies are going to work on their own separately, and they're going to work together on a few things, because that's what needs to be done, collaboration. And when you look at what's happening today in space, it's right now flourishing. There are companies launching satellites, hundreds of satellites, and have plans to. It's not just SpaceX. A few of them have registered to IPO. And when you look at what needs to happen when it comes to establishing a lunar base on the moon safely, and then essentially moving back and forth between Mars quite a bit, having machines do that initially, and then humans, And then moving from Mars to Earth, there's going to be a lot of data exchanged between machines. And one of the objectives of Azure Space is to start collecting this data and storing this data. And this would be data not just from satellites. This is data from, as I mentioned, all kinds of things happening in space, including exploring those trillion-dollar asteroids. Next, we'll move on to strategy. And first, we'll note that VectorspaceAI, we have an ERC20 wallet. We have activity on that wallet. And this has been recently observed, and this activity is based on internal strategies which relate to protecting customers. We've also been extra busy. We're modifying workflows to accommodate scaling in different directions and at the right time. And as a reminder, we're considering moving the calls to Thursday to capture updates from our main engineering call on Wednesdays. And when you look at an algorithmic technology company, the core of an algorithmic technology company is an engineering team. And that engineering team provides the most critical updates to the company. So we want to capture those and be able to provide those to the public accurately and on time. We have another reminder that we move at the speed of our largest customers. So that's always important to remember. And our retail strategy. We're finally rolling this out with CoinMetro. So we're pretty happy about this. Initially, it's on the cryptocurrency exchange side, where we're producing a correlation matrix, cryptos by cryptos, for CoinMetro and an API. But we have most other customers asking for crypto datasets now. And we also know that most companies in the financial space are going to be asking for crypto datasets. So we're preparing for that. But the CoinMetro rollout will help automate a lot of that, automate that sales and marketing pipeline as well, and the biz dev pipeline. And finally, McCants and Widowson's compositions of foods integrated dataset. That's the title of this dataset. It would be important to look this dataset up. This dataset we're going to make as our initial dataset in terms of combining it and creating new correlation matrix datasets that will support space biosciences, which of course directly connects to precision medicine and protecting and repairing human DNA. And with these new correlations, we can make progress there, and so can other companies. And that new progress is defined by using these data sets to make predictions, come up with new hypotheses, or make new discoveries. So that's all we have for this week. We'll have more next Thursday. So we encourage everyone, if they have any questions, feel free to post them online. We'll see you online. Thanks for joining.